What's up, everyone? Have you heard the expression bloom where you're planted? Let's unpack that today. What's up, everyone? It's Johnny here with Tell a Friend, and we want to thank you for joining us today. Hey, listen, real fast before I get into my thought today about blooming where you're planted. Right behind me, I got some shirts left from the giveaway, the previous giveaway we had before. If you're interested still, hit me up down below in the links below, and we'll get you a shirt to you. Anyways, hey, listen. So today I have a thought today about bloom where you're planted. Now, I was in church the other day, and the pastor had a message, and he had mentioned that bloom where you're planted. Now, that's not the only thing I heard in that message. So, Pastor Dave, if you're listening, that's not the only thing I heard. I heard a lot more, but that's one of the things that really stuck out of my mind. And I was thinking about that, kind of blooming where you're planted basically means, if you will, in whatever situation you find yourself in, make the best opportunities of it, right? So I was thinking about that, and how can I make that tangible to you guys listening today, right? And for me, because I'm always trying to learn and grow. So I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about my own neighborhood where I grew up from, and who stood out to me. So in the neighborhood I grew up in, I mentioned it before, basically there were drugs on one side. This is true, drugs on one side, gangs on one side, and on the main street there was prostitution, and it was pretty hard not to get mixed up in one of those things. Not because it was a choice, it's just everybody's kind of doing one of these things, right? So there was not a lot of people who bloomed in that environment. There was not a lot of different people in that environment. The ones who were different is those who everybody wanted to be like. All the kids in the neighborhood looked up to certain individuals. Man, my uncles, especially my brother, I wanted to be like him. He would walk around, people would say hello to him, talk to him, like wave at him, and it just always a smile on their faces. I wanted to be that person like him. But those kind of guys, there was a lot of guys like that in the neighborhood. They weren't much different than anybody else. But I remember one summer night, don't remember a lot of the details, but I remember one summer night, we had a friend, his name was, we call him Joker, right? And he was a Christian, and there wasn't a lot of Christians in our neighborhood. And if there was a lot of guys who stood out, right? But I remember one summer night, he walked up to me and he said, "Johnny, can I pray with you?" And I was kind of caught off guard because it just seemed like there were so many guys out in the neighborhood, just like the whole neighborhood was out that night. It was just the strangest thing. And he said, "Hey, can I pray for you?" And I eventually said yes. And I remember he bowed his head and he was holding my hands, and I bowed my head. But I remember at one point I looked up, and kind of like there was a lot of guys looking at us, right? But what this guy did, he didn't care what was going on around him. The situation he found himself in, it did not bother him. He took advantage and he bloomed where he was planted, right? So now, how can you bloom where you're planted? Let me tell you what this guy did, right? The first thing was he seen an opportunity and he took it, right? He seen me standing there. It didn't matter what was around him. He seen me, he walked up to me, and he prayed with me, right? The next thing was the opportunities need to be present. So if you don't see an opportunity, you go find one. So he seen me, he went up to me, he made it happen, right? And the last thing, basically, he bloomed where he was planted. It did not matter the situation he found himself in. That's the awesome thing that I remember so much about this young kid, right? And I say kid, he was probably my age, 14 to 16. And standing up at 14 to 16, you don't see a lot of many kids doing that. But this kid bloomed where he was planted. Today, I share that story. Why? Because at a young age, he bloomed. And it don't matter what age you are, you can bloom in any situation you find yourself in. You can be grateful. It don't matter where you've been, where you're going, what you've been through. You can bloom where you've been planted. So today I hope this message bless you, and you can share with somebody. So hey, I love you guys. Be blessed, and don't forget to tell a friend. If you don't have a friend, I'll be that friend. Love y'all. Be blessed. Bye now.